Welcome, everybody. This is the July meeting, halfway through the year. Who would have thought last year at this time that we would be coming out of a pandemic and then having city and county tell us that we might have to put masks back on again? Very, very interesting time for us as an industry. But having said that, I have had the privilege of actually going face to face with several clients, and it's nice to see people in the flesh once again versus just on Zoom. Today, though, we have two great people that are joining us from Simpson Coulter. They really don't need a big introduction, but I'll go ahead and do my best to just introduce them and let them take it from there. But I have a little script that I want to read. So today we are speaking with Wade Simpson and Sean Coulter from Simpson Coulter Studio, an award-winning architectural firm here in Las Vegas. Both Wade and Sean have a long history of working within our city, community, and with the AIA locally and nationally over the years. We encourage you to ask questions as we discuss the changes we've seen over this past year and how our relationships with our vendors, suppliers, and stakeholders of all kinds are critical to the success of our city's continued growth. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend who has helped me create that. Where is she? There she is, Trisha. Wanted to give her a shout out. Say thank you, Trisha, for helping me put that together. Made my life a lot more easy. Please help me welcome Mr. Sean and Mr. Wade. Wade and Sean, thank you for coming, gentlemen.
Oh, thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you very much. We weren't really sure what Coffee with an Architect was about until we met with Lee the other day, and made us more excited to be part of it, actually. So I don't get an opportunity to talk to this group as much. So thanks.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to have you. We're speaking of Coffee with Architect. I'm either thinking that is a very big white thing of coffee, or you guys are just starting to take part in the festivities early today, and there's something other than coffee as a beverage in that white container.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I was wired up enough for this. No, actually, don't hit me, but I actually don't like the taste of coffee. I love the smell of it, but I don't like the taste of it. So it's water.
No problem. You are forgiven. You are forgiven.
I've already had a couple of cups, so I'm good.
You're a good man. Good man. I've got mine, so we're ready to go. Hey, I'm excited, and as I shared last month, and I'll just do this real quickly before we get into what everybody is really here for. For those of you who don't know, Kaylee is going to be taking over as AIA Director for Allied membership. I'm really, really excited to partner with her over the last few months that we're here. And I look forward again to what she's going to do under her tenure. Really, really glad to have Kaylee on board. And really, really welcome all of you guys, because I always learn something from the questions being asked on this particular call. And so as typical, it's very fluid, very dynamic by nature. There are no dumb questions except the ones I usually ask. So feel free to ask anything that you want to ask, and we'll start engaging from there. So before I ask a question, does anybody have a desire to ask either Wade or Sean a question? Don't be shy. All right. I will be the first victim because it always takes somebody. Here's my first question to you guys. Yesterday, the city and county actually came out with a potential new mandate of everybody having to wear masks back in the workplace. From your guys' position, not only as a company, but what are your thoughts in regards to that in your office? Is it still kind of a hybrid? What's your philosophy on that? And I ask more from the standpoint that a lot of us on this call are vendors and suppliers that want to meet with you. So how does that affect our ability to meet with you?
Well, when the pandemic started, we've been pretty consistent about following CDC guidelines. And whatever the state and the counties require, we've just stuck with following that. We don't really have any more additional requirements or less. We've just stuck with, what those authorities are telling us helps our community stay safe. So we will follow those guidelines, which a week ago or so, our current policy has been that everybody's back in the office except on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we allow some of our senior staff, well, probably at least half the office, to work remotely if they wish, depending on what's best for the projects that they're working on, the teams that they're working with, whatever works best for their workflow, we allow them that flexibility on those days. In terms of meeting others, we're open, we'll set meetings, and we'll just follow whatever guidelines are in place at the time of the meeting. So if it's 6 foot distance and masks, so be it. And if it's not, that's fine too. We are proponents of the vaccine. Sean and I are both vaccinated, as are the majority of our office. As far as we know, we don't require people to show us their vaccine card or any of that. We trust our staff, and we trust those that come into our office that want to work with us. We start on a basis of trust until somebody gives us a reason not to trust them. So,
thank you for that. I actually love that response, because there's a key word that you kept using over and over again. It's really trust. It's going to take us as an industry trusting in each other's to really come to whatever the end is going to be determined to be. And I've recognized, as I shared at the beginning of this, as I've gone out to meet with clients, most of them are acting from that place of trust, is that, hey, we want to get back to some normalcy, right? So I'm curious for you, we kind of answered the question from us as a vendor supplier meeting with you. How has it changed with you folks in regards to going after your business when you're meeting with owners or CMs or whatnot?
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously different owners have different policies in place. Obviously we do a lot of public work type projects. And so the different entities, City of Las Vegas, Clark County, all of those have, different policies. So we have to be really flexible in terms of, like, when we meet with them and understand what their requirements are. But the other interesting thing though is right now, or during the height of the pandemic, it was really a challenge, on the design side. Obviously construction still had to move forward, right? But design was a bit of a challenge, because that's more of a one-on-one scenario. And working on design problems with a client remotely we'll just say a challenge to say the least. But we worked it out. I mean, it's working. It's not the most efficient. Obviously, we still feel that face-to-face is the most efficient, but we're making it work. We have to make it work, to move forward.
Excellent. Thank you both for that. Questions from the audience? Feel free to put the question in the chat box. I'm monitoring that as well. Okay, not seeing any questions coming up just yet. Anybody raising their hand? No. Okay, so let me ask you this. What is Simpson when you look at the vision moving forward, and the fact that Las Vegas, and you just noted that you do a lot of work with public works, but if you look at Las Vegas from just a economy that is very dependent on hospitality, how do you foresee the next 2 years in regards to our ability as an industry to encourage more development, to encourage more projects? We already see, there's a nice abundance of people coming into the estate, but how do we continue to, I guess, focus on better build projects in the future for Las Vegas?
Well, one thing I think about is I'm obviously working with our entities and our government agencies and reminding them of all the types of projects that they do and that our community needs, over and above just better roads. It seems like because our state is getting a lot of federal money coming into it for the COVID relief and whatever the technical term is of the program, but we're going to get this influx. I believe it's over $2 billion for our state, something like that. And, you know, typically we see that money go right to roads as the first, you know, putting people back to work. And we need to remind them that the built environment is more than just roads. That helps our, and I'm not saying that I don't like better roads and more connectivity, but there's many other things that, you know, help our community thrive and be beneficial.
Right, yeah.
I don't know, Wade. I've driven on some of these roads. I think you could say I don't like some of these roads very easily.
And I don't mean to disparage any civil engineers in the group or anything like that, but it has to be more than just that.
Well, you know, it is interesting. I saw an article, I forget which national outlet it was, but they were ranking the states with the best infrastructure. And Nevada was actually number 2 or 3 on that list. Now, when they look at infrastructure, they look at the entire, you know, kind of scenario, like internet service, roads, facilities. And then one of the big things that really pushed us up was sustainable energy, you know, with all the solar farms and things like that around the state, which I thought was pretty interesting. So we have something going for us, so that's good.
Yeah, no, I do. I believe the same. How are we doing on questions? Anybody have a question they'd like to ask Wade or Sean? Hey, Mark.
Hey, good morning. Hey, guys.
Hey, Mark.
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Sean, you look tall compared to Wade there. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a serious question for you guys. Yeah, obviously we partner on a few construction projects in the past few years, and you know, it's great to see you guys survived COVID and hopefully are able to maintain most of your employees, keep them busy. But yet, you know, now we're obviously seeing some things happening in the public sector. What's your guys' forecast for, let's say, the next 12 months, you know, in the design and construction industry, especially with that public sector client?
Sure. We have, it's interesting, there's definitely been projects talked about and are out there. We did have a bit of a slowdown, our firm coming out of the convention center project. So, but we've got some irons in the fire, public work, you know, with the state RFQ out there now and some other things. Obviously the school district is one of our big clients, and the work with them have kept us going for sure. But also we've got some private developers that are, you know, the pie in the sky stuff that if one of those hits, we could be very busy. Right now, our firm itself isn't swamped, but we're not in layoff mode either. We're staying busy, but we've got, you know, some potential projects out there that we see in the next 6 to 12 months will hit, and then we'll be busy again, and hopefully having to hire a little bit.
Yeah. You know, Mark, it's interesting. I know when the pandemic first broke out, we had a few clients, public clients, you know, basically stop everything and be very conservative going forward, because obviously there was a lot of unknowns, right? And actually this year, I've heard from a couple of different public clients that, oh, hey, it didn't impact us as much as they thought it would. And so that's a good thing. So it sounds like, you know, some public entities are going to start releasing, you know, more projects as we move forward. And so we see, like Wade was saying, you know, the end of this year, next year, you know, at least on the public side, it should be pretty good. Private side should be ahead of that even, you know, knock on wood. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So optimistic then.
Are you guys swamped right now?
We're busy. Yeah, we've seen a turn in the right direction as far as projects being released. private sector is still a little wishy-washy and hesitant. But public projects and public funded is headed in the right direction. Have just a follow-up question, if I may. With the construction market, costs, materials, supply chain, all the challenges that we're seeing in our industry, and I'm sure you're seeing it for your projects as well, as you're trying to keep projects in budget and on schedule. What do you guys, from an architect standpoint, focus on to really help kind of mitigate some of those schedule and cost challenges that our end users and clients are seeing on the projects?
I think one thing going into projects, like we always do, but it's even more critical, just a mindset of flexibility and being able to work with our partners, with our construction partners, and getting the real data. It was interesting. I forgot what it was, 6 months ago or so, wood was just skyrocketing, right? And the cost of that, and now that has turned around and come back down, or at least stabilized, right? As we sit here today, the word on the street that we're hearing, it's steel joists that are the hard thing to get. A couple months ago, it was steel deck was the thing. And so we talked about, well, do we need to, design a wood deck that, an option. So depending on the project, I think the key factor for us is not having a go-to answer. It's having that open mind and the flexibility of doing what's right for that particular project. Now, of course, the projects we work on are projects that are going to be around for 50 years. So we're not going to, suggest doing something on the cheap today that might only last 15, 20 years and have to be redone. Our public clients all look for us for that, low maintenance, longevity type of buildings. And so we have to look at the materials that provide those and look at that long run life cycle cost, right? But at the same time, dealing with schedules and dealing with availability of materials and workforce today is critical, and we just have to keep that open mind.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Kind of non-answer, but
Yeah. I gave you a 5 out of 10, but that was good.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. No, it is though. We don't have today's answer, and we know that.
I'll take the 5 out of 10 and add a few more points to it. Thanks, Mark, for always providing great engagement type questions. Always appreciative. Thank you, sir. Following up on maybe a little bit of what Mark's question was, how do you, in that talk track, you alluded to the fact that you haven't had to lay off people, but you haven't necessarily started hiring yet, but you foresee that as part of the economic forecast moving forward because there's that type of busyness coming on. So my question is then, finding people for anybody right now is very difficult. How are you two looking at it from a standpoint that we're in an industry that is very, very difficult to find talent right now? It's great that you're keeping your current talent. What are you doing to attract new talent? And is there something specific to Las Vegas that would encourage people that maybe don't currently live in Las Vegas that would come?
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because after COVID, we seem to be a little more open to remote working, so and we would prefer people to work in the office. However, we've seen success working remotely. And so, we could see if and when that we need somebody. Sorry, I need to turn this off here. If we need somebody in the near future, we're open to actually, looking outside of the valley and all of that. But right now, I guess in some ways we're fortunate in that we don't have to hire because we know it is very difficult to find good people at this point. So
we also back in 07, 06, 07, 08, before that crash, you know, we were up at 49 people. And you really have to have a mindset of a large firm and the organization structure to be able to handle 49 people and have the right people doing the right thing every day and on the right projects. And so we're at, as we sit today, we're at 25 people, and we're not looking at just numbers, we're looking at what kind of projects are we doing. We don't want to become busy fools and have to hire people that we don't trust or that we don't know their skill sets as well. So we'll do our best to look for people that either we know or other, you know, people that we trust, know of them and know of their work ethics and know of their talent and skills. And so,
yeah, relationships.
And so, as opposed to what we experienced in 06, where we were hiring, you know, if they came in the door and could look in the eye, and you know, as one of my friends called it, if you went into 7-Eleven and they looked you in the eye and said a complete sentence, you would grab them and pull them and take them to work with you. And nothing against people that work at 7-Eleven, it's just not the skill sets necessarily in our business that we need. And so we're a little bit more, I shouldn't say picky, but that's our intent, is to be much more selective and try to make our place a place that people want to come to. Instead of us having to reach out and pull people, we want to be a place that our current staff is telling their friends and their people, hey, come here, it's fun, we're doing good work. That's what we're working hard to try to do.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I do have a question from somebody I'm going to bring up in just a minute, but just a follow on. What you just talked about, Wade, is I think the biggest challenge for all of us. We all want to attract the right people. We all want to say, hey, this is the greatest place to work. It's a challenge when we're not actually working in the workplace to have that interaction with each other, to build that camaraderie, right? I mean, so there's pros and cons to every situation. Certainly there's major pros to a hybrid workforce. Certainly we've learned that we can have a remote workforce and still be successful. But there is a loss of a human element that people are still trying to wrap their heads around. And you just articulated one of the cons, for lack of a better word, is that you almost can't, unless somebody is pro remote workforce, the engagement part is a little bit of what's lacking right now. And it's a challenge for everybody.
What we were able to learn over the past year was those of our staff members that needed more of that interaction than others. We're all different, right? We all have our strengths and weaknesses. And there are people that actually probably were more efficient and more effective working remotely because they weren't getting interrupted by the walk-by thing, and they don't need that human interaction as much. We all need it.
Yeah.
But we all need it in different ways and different amounts.
Well, and two, you know, we have projects in different phases, and so the different phases, you know, lend themselves to, you know, maybe a hybrid approach versus an all in office or all remote, you know, depending on like construction versus conceptual design or programming, you know. So it's interesting how just a project can vary in terms of its need for a remote versus, you know, in-house work as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a pro, right? Is recognizing that there's a scale of efficiencies that can be had where certain part of these phases are better utilized on a remote basis or a Zoom meeting. And then there's certain parts that are probably better facilitated in person. And I think that's kind of the hybrid approach that everybody is looking at. One of the questions that has come, and I'm just going to put Laura Lay on the spot on this. She's asking, okay, and she's from Inova, technologies? Are you meeting with consultants, and who would be the best person to contact?
So depending on what you have to talk about exactly, we're doing, so if it's just to come in and update us on what you have to offer, Maloney in our office is our point of contact now. And you can call the office number and ask for Maloney, or and Helen can get you connected there. If it's you want to meet to discuss a specific project, you can absolutely call the office and ask Helen who would be the right person to talk to about that. For consultants and contractors, once again, just reach out and we would, schedule coffee or schedule an appointment to come in and talk to us. It's a balance. Sean and I have talked over the last couple of days of what's the best way to do things, because sometimes product reps want to call and talk to me and Sean, and the reality is the best relationship for product reps is probably our project architects, because they're the ones really doing the work, really working with the clients directly, and they're the ones writing the spec. Now, it doesn't mean that Sean and I don't have influence and don't do that, but really the knowledge level of some of that happens at that project architect level. And so we recommend really building those relationships as well. Same with consultants. But Sean and I, we're pretty open and we'll meet with anybody. We just want to focus your efforts efficiently as well. And so we don't want to lead you astray. We're definitely not a, I mean, we are doing lunch and learns again. There's people that have been in. We kind of do those like once a month. So Helen schedules those where you can get a bigger crew. I don't know with the new rules how effective that will be, but our staff really enjoys those, and you get those AI learning credits and you get to learn about the new, and they always, if we're there or not, we always hear about it, and we always get briefed on what are the new products available, what are the new things that are going out there. So we meet with our staff all the time. In fact, that's where most of our time is, meeting with our clients and meeting with our staff. That's where our meetings tend to lie the most, but we'll, we want to develop relationships. We want to know who everyone are, and whether it's us specifically knowing that or one of our staff members, we all share in that knowledge. So one thing I told Lee the other day is we understand how we need each other for the betterment of our clients. We both need each other to share information and share knowledge and help each other out. So we understand that, and we want to promote that. And at the same time, we want to be effective with everyone's time.
Great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, whatever that might look like. So we're looking for ideas from you guys too.
Okay.
What's most effective for you guys?
Great question, Lorelei. I fall in the same category as you. So my takeaway from that is I'm going to drop Wade and Sean's name when I call to say that they told me. And the second thing is that I'm never going to invite Sean for coffee. It's going to be something else. All right. Any other questions? With that, Nicole, did you have a question? Yes, there.
I did. Hi, Wade and Sean.
Hey.
Really quick, now that we're sort of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic, are you seeing your clients asking for kind of to relook at things a little bit differently and not doing things as, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic?
Yeah, actually, we have a project that was in the middle of, well, wrapping up construction documents a few months ago. And, you know, the owner came back and added certain elements to the building to, you know, make it more kind of anti-COVID.
Right. Same.
Yeah, and so yeah, we are seeing, I mean, they're not huge changes, you know, and but they're, you know, they're simple things that we can do. I don't know if they're going to last, you know, I don't know if this is kind of a you know, in the moment kind of situation, or is it going to continue in terms of what they're asking for? Will that continue once COVID is kind of gone? But we are seeing, you know, certain clients wanting, you know, modifications to spaces based on, you know, the COVID issue.
I'm seeing a little, I'm surprised a little bit on some of the projects I've been on that they haven't asked for as many kind of like touchless things.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, if they're
Offered, you know, there's touchless elevator controls, things like that. Of course, restroom, you know, plumbing fixtures, that kind of stuff.
sanitizer stations.
It's not, yeah, it's not being asked for as much from the projects that I've been working on. What I do see is more discussion about indoor air quality, making sure the mechanical systems are working properly is like our number one, and Kaylee will understand this, and Amy, you know, our number one complaint is mechanical systems. And so once I had one of our insurance companies tell us, if you can make sure the mechanical systems work and the roof doesn't leak, you'll be all right as far as any liability. But we can always change the paint color, right? But anyways, that's just some of the stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't been dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah, one example that I had from a client is that we actually had carpet in an open office and went terrazzo, you know, a hard surface because of the air quality issues that you get with carpet. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious, you know, all of us have undergone so many changes in our life. So how that affected, you know, interiors and design.
Yeah.
Right. What have you seen, Nicole? On the
You know, people are, it's interesting. I think the hybrid work model has really changed the office. Obviously, we need people. We need to come together, but it's kind of, we're seeing it being used differently. People are coming in to meet together, meet with clients, really a collaborative space. And some heads down, you know, Zoom and go-to meetings and all that, I think are definitely here to stay, but they're just reassessing how that space is being used and using it more efficiently.
Okay. For sure.
So
For sure.
we'll see. More to come.
I'm sure if today's meeting was in person somewhere, there'd probably be less people attend, is my guess.
100%. Yeah, we do see that. We are able, it's kind of funny because I think before this, I didn't know how to use Teams a year ago, but all of a sudden now we got really good at it. And we do connect more, especially, you know, we have some of our staff actually doesn't even work. We've got somebody that's a project manager that's in Florida. So people are able to connect and you really don't know that they're not, you know, at home, but they're in a home in a different state. So it's helped in some ways.
For sure. Good seeing you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Great question, Nicole. Well, with that, it's at the top of the hour, so I want to thank both Sean and Wade for their time. In closing, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to add or say?
No, just thank you for the opportunity. I think something like this is great, you know, getting out, because we haven't seen a lot of you in a long time. And so it's good to kind of get the conversation going and all of that. So we really appreciate inviting us, and we appreciate seeing everybody here today. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to see everyone.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. Just a reminder that KME is on deck for next month. So join us as Mel and Emmanuel share their thoughts with Coffee with the Architect next month. Wish all of you guys peace and safety, and thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Good day.